This is still Journalist Hangout. I still have Mayor Akimpelu right here and also Dr. Oladipo. Let's move straight to our next conversation. In the pursuit of justice, the closing of the case can mark a critical turning point. On Thursday, the federal government formally ended its case in the trial of Nnamdi KANU, leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, who faces charges bordering on terrorism and treason. Government Counsel Chief Adegboyega Awomolo, SAN, informs the court that after presenting 5 witnesses and extensive documentary evidence, the prosecution believes it has built a strong case. Among the evidence tendered were broadcasts and public statements linked to KANU. Now let's share the story with you.
The federal government today fielded its last witness, making it a total of 5 witnesses called. The 5th witness, Mr. EEE, is an officer of the DSS in Abuja. He said he knew Mr. KANU through the mass media but had never met him personally. Mr. EEE said he led a team of security officers to travel to the southern region of the country to obtain records of activities that occurred between 2020 and 2021 relating to the NSAS protest. In the report, a total of 128 policemen were killed, 37 army officers and 10 DSS officers also lost their lives, as well as 164 police stations and a total of 19 INEC facilities destroyed. Under cross-examination, Mr. EE admitted not being involved in the investigation of crimes allegedly committed by KANU. He said he is not aware if IPOB is concerned with happenings in Lagos State, Ibadan, Ile-Ife, and so on. Mr. EE said he is not aware of the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry on the NSAS protest, which did not implicate IPOB. After the cross-examination of the witness, the federal government said the evidences and witnesses they have produced are sufficient to prove their case and they will be closing their case. KANU Agabi, counsel to Mr. KANU, informed the court that the defense will be filing a no-case submission. He asked for 14 days from 24th June for them to file. Justice James Omotosho granted the defense team 14 days and the prosecution another 14 days to file their addresses. The matter was adjourned to 18th July 2025 for the adoption of written addresses in respect to the no-case submission. Celestina Area, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, thank you so much, Celestina. I mean, Dr. Talk to me. What does it mean, legally now, when the federal government says it's closing its case, against Nnamdi KANU? What does it mean?
Well, from what we understand as newsmen, it means we don't have any other witness to call and we don't have any other document to plead.
Okay.
So we are ready to submit our written address to argue on why the judge should take our position when delivering judgment. That basically is it. So it means no other witness, no other evidence to present.
Okay, so, now, Mayor, what were the grounds considered, by the prosecution, which is the federal government, before they decided to say, okay, we're closing this case and we're ready for trial?
No, it's not. The trial is on already. What they have just said is that they have finished their own presentation to the court in terms of proving the case, because you are going to, when you want to prosecute somebody, you are going to adduce proof or evidences to the court why that person is guilty of what you are accusing of. And they have called their witnesses, and they finished calling all their witnesses. They presented their cases. So it is now left for the defense to open their own case. When the prosecution closes their case, then the defense will open their own case to defend. And what they want, the route the defense counsel wants to go is the no-case submission.
Yeah.
They don't want to call witnesses to say, okay, this is not like that. This is what they are saying is that based on the evidences adduced, there is no case. So they want to present a no-case submission, and they're asking for that 2 weeks so that they can now argue why there is no case submission. And then the prosecutor will also now argue why they think there is enough justification to find him guilty of what he has been accused of. And the IPOB saying that, that because you mentioned that IPOD said
the NSAS.
That the NSAS thing, that's with all respect to them, that's arrant nonsense. Because during the time of NSAS, Kanu was on radio Biafra, and he was giving addresses regularly. So he was involved in it. That you cannot deny because it was presented in court. Some of his
it's for the defense to now prove it
yes,
that,
no, that's
they said it's baseless.
You can say anything in court. You can say whatever. If I accuse you of something, the government has accused him of terrorism. Okay. And one of the grounds is that during the NSAS, he was making insightful statements that made people to do certain things. We suffered it greatly in Lagos. So Lagos was practically destroyed. You understand? But the government's argument is that you were inciting rioters, you were inciting people. But that is one of the reasons why those people did what they did. But you were saying you didn't do that. You cannot say that it's baseless. It's not baseless because there is evidence that he was making addresses. He was making addresses and was telling people to do this and to do that. That is an indictment. There's no way you can. It's just the same thing that about EPA. The EPA now says that that he was saying that all the things he was saying and that he was skit, that he was nonsense. You cannot say that because there's evidence that you said those things. Which incited people to do certain things.
On it.
Exactly. And people acted based on what you were saying. So, to me, the government has presented the case. The defense wants to do
a no-case
submission, which is within their rights, because they've seen all the evidence that was presented, and they felt there's no case here. And that's the route they want to take. You know, you can go through different routes. You can say that, okay, you want to open your defense. You call people that will say, oh, Kanu is not involved in this. Or you call these people to say, no, it was Kanu involved in that. And they were able to give evidence to the court. But they said no case submission because what has been presented to the court as evidence to them amounts to nothing. So they want to go through that route. And it's within their rights to do so.
I mean, your thoughts on this matter?
Well, when we see what is going on in Finland with Simon Ekpa, it tells us what is going on in Nigeria is also right. Because it is on this same issue of incitement that is being tried in Finland.
But are there evidence to prove, that you were involved directly or indirectly on the issue of the NSAS?
Good. Like I said, it's been proven now that IPOB, also known as Nnamdi KANU, brought in some radio transmitters into this country.
Okay.
With which those broadcasts were made. And when he was even outside the country, he also made broadcasts. So whether in or out, we have the evidence that he actually spoke to people. He said they should kill. He said they should destroy people's property. So if he's able to prove that it was also a skit, then it's fine. Because that's what the lawyers should be looking at.
Exactly.
How to tell the court that despite the fact that he brought in this equipment, despite the fact that he spoke, he was actually only joking. He has become a comedian. Because it's not like indicting him. It's just what we can all see, what we can all feel. And unfortunately now, in this era, what you say, the internet does not forget.
Absolutely.
Video evidences. You have written ones. All of them are there. Those videos have not been destroyed. Where he was saying all of these things, and you could see the anger. He was emitting when he was saying it. Very angry. You have a right to your opinion, but not for you to encourage others to kill, not for you to encourage others to destroy other people's property. That is criminal. Even with the Cybercrime Act alone, he's guilty. Because what happened in Lagos, I can wake up and say, even what he said has made me angry. And being angry with the Cybercrime Act is an offense. So if they have something to say, let them say it and prove that
Okay.
There is no
now
need
looking
for
at
trial.
this issue of Nnamdi KANU and all the situation in the southeast, is there still room for a political solution on this matter?
Yeah, I think.
Or we're just going to go the route of the legal solution?
No. I, for example, I think that I know that Nnamdi KANU is representing people, representing the feelings of some people.
Yeah. Okay.
And he was their leader that they look up to. But I do not agree with his method of inciting people. He kept saying all kinds of things through that radio broadcast. But you see, in politics, it's not every time that you go through the legal route.
Okay.
Because if there are some section of the society or the section of the country that feel aggrieved because of certain things, and they feel aggrieved enough to want to break away. And all these things they are doing is just part of that their intention to break away. It is important for us to look for a negotiated solution, a political solution to be able to solve it. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I think that government may want to first go through that legal route to be able to prove that this guy has done things that were against the state.
Okay.
When they exhaust that, they can now decide to look for a political solution. Government can pardon him.
Oh.
You understand? Government could do that. It's in the purview of government to do that. The government has the power to do that. The president has the power to do that. Maybe that's what the government wants to do, because several times, I remember during the government of President Buhari,
yes.
a lot of delegations from Southeast have gone to him, pleading that they should look for a political situation, and that if they release Nnamdi KANU, the tension in the Southeast will go down, and the violence that is going on there will go down. That the reason is a reaction to his being detained. And I believe that there should be a political solution, because, like I said, it's representing an interest.
An interest of the
there's a section of the country that feel aggrieved enough, maybe because of the civil war, maybe because of things that have happened after that. They feel aggrieved enough to say, we don't want to be part of the Nigerian state, which is illegal, which is just rebel, but that's what they want. We want to go and do Biafra. So IPOB was formed to effect that. So the Biafran dream is alive. We cannot run away from it.
Yeah, the idea.
The idea is alive, and the people, some people are aggrieved enough to say, we don't want to be part of the Nigerian state. We want to be in the state of Biafra. You understand? So that it's better when we look for a political solution to say that, why are these people disaggrieved? What are the things that have not been done? Or what are the things that could be done to assuage their complaints?
Absolutely.
Then we can now look at that. But President Buhari refused and said, look, this thing is in court. Let it play out in court. So maybe that's what government is doing.
Exactly.
That because the case has been on, this present government inherited it. So maybe what they are doing is that, let us prove in court that these things were perpetrated and there should be consequences for those things. Then after that, they can now look for political
solution. Your thoughts here? Is there still room?
The truth is, I'm an advocate of that. I've always said it, that at the end of the day, even if you put an Nnamdi KANU in prison, there are so many other Nnamdi KANUs
that might
come up. So many of them. So it's still going to be a political solution at the end of the day. But we shouldn't also forget that the man who was killed as a result of this will always hold it against IPOB and KANU. DSS lost men. I can imagine how the family of that policeman that was killed in Ibadan and his body parts fried and eaten will feel today. Because there are
talks about cannibalism.
Yes, different things. A lot of things.
There are things that will call closure to some cases. What will give some family a closure to that case is ensuring that those who perpetrated
justice
is served. So when it is now served, and we can see this, then we can now say, okay, let's sit down and talk. And
now,
that's why I agree with him.
How do we now balance
That's where I agree with him.
How do we now balance
That's where I agree with him that maybe it is at that stage the federal government wants to talk. Because initially, when the elders from the Southeast were trying to rein in Nnamdi KANU, we refused.
Refused, yeah.
So why is it now the government that we are going to force into this? He refused. So we should also patiently wait.
Do you still think if a political solution is now brought, on the table, you think it can solve the situation in the Southeast? Does it still have that political capital?
Yeah, of course, of course it will. Because what they are saying the political solution you're going to get is that, okay, let's release Nnamdi KANU.
Yes.
So that the people will not see it, because the people who are supporting KANU will see it as a continuation of what they are complaining about.
Because they've said that the issue of Monday, no movement on Monday, is not powerful, and they've always said they are not involved. But we still keep having
because
that.
because you should know that IPOP, that is why the character in Finland emerged. There are some people within IPOP that are not loyal to KANU. They have seized power for themselves and they have turned it to criminality. Because so even when KANU wrote from prison to say that they should cancel the thing, some people still insisted that including ECPA, still insisted that the Monday boycott should continue. So when there is a movement, when you start a movement like that, you don't know you don't know how it will end, because you may not be able to control it.
Exactly. It's
just like when you are when you are doing a normal protest, you cannot say how it will end, because some people will hijack it. They have their own different agendas.
Well,
So the political solution, part of the political solution will be, what are these people agitating for?
And how do we
assuage those things and address their concerns?
Exactly.
And then that's part of the political solution.
Absolutely.
And that will be able, because we are in a Catholic marriage, that somebody will go and start Biafra, that will not happen.
Sure.
So let's just face that reality.
Let's find a way
it won't happen.
Exactly.
So it's just that, what are the things? For example, there are a lot of things that could be done. If you look at the geopolitical zones, the Southeast...
All right, I still want us to talk more on it, but we still have one more conversation before we go. All right, to our last conversation. In a society governed by law,